Yes, you look good.
Respected in the hood.
I'd say you look great.
Yeah, hungover after drinking the taverna dry. But it was good night, good chats, good conversation. Met the guy from Suicidal Angels as well.
Ah, Nikos.
Yeah. And I missed...
Have you missed from Nightfall?
Man, you know, I used to write with him so much in 92.
Give
92, 1991, 92, 93.
Say that again because probably it's a good thing
Yeah.
to say that.
I used to write with him a lot. I used to sell the first Nightfall record in Ireland. I had a distro, a small distro in 1990.
1990.
91, 92. I used to sell demos when I was 16, 15. And then, like demos, lots of things now that are like super rare. And we can start right there if you want.
It's
good place to start.
It's rolling already?
Yeah, so... Yeah, it was called Buried and Forgotten, and I just used to sell... I used to make bootlegs of old Slayer from 83, 84, Greetings from My Guts with different covers. I would sell cassettes. Then I would sell things like Gorgoroth demos, 7 inches, some early black metal stuff from No Colors and Solistitium Records, and little trades. Then Primordial made the demo in 93, so I used to use that as trading with people for things.
So for you, Greece is like a huge thing for you since the beginning of your career.
Yeah, we were talking about it. I was actually talking about it only, I think, even on my own podcast about actually the Blasphemy demo. But what the big thing at the time was, I remember there's a record store in Dublin called the Sound Cellar. It's been there since the 1970s. Mm-hmm. And when we were kids in the 87, 88, 89, we were, 30, 40, 50 people would be hanging around outside, and there was a guy who used to work in that shop called Troy. He's a bit older, so I was in 88, I would have been about 14, 13. And, we just got talking about, say, will be 88 Death or something. And he said, the demo was from 83. And I just remember going like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he said, give me 10 or 20 cassettes next week. So this is maybe 88. So I gave him 10 cassettes and he started to tape me stuff. So I got to hear Morbid Angel demos. Like I heard Morbid Angel before Autism Madness came out. Jedi Kingdom Come demo. Just purely by chance, I'd talking to this guy. Yeah. And so I was very young when I started listening to like Mephisto and Deathstrike and Mayhem and but purely by chance, And the first band I wrote to was Pestilence in 88, end of 88. And then I did a fanzine in 90. But I remember a cassette, I got Master's Hammer of the Mass. And the other side had Satanist Tedium, Blood and Christ on it, and that was 89. And that was a big impact on. And then when I joined Primordial in 91, we were all obviously tape trading, all that kind of stuff. So then you have, of course, the Necromantia demos, the Varatron, the, Procreation of Unaltered Evil, I think, is the very first Varatron, and then Genesis of Apocryphal Desire. Then the split with Necromantia, Varatron that was a big record. 92, and then of course Passage to Arcturo, and so as well as those other bands as well. There was, I remember like Danger Cross, Spider Kickers, Divisor.
Divisor is playing tonight. Actually.
Yeah, I saw that actually. Yeah, that's maybe a little bit later. 94, I remember I had one album by them. But there was that Greek sound, the old, and of course Flames and stuff. So there was I was always really, at the same time as the Norwegian, this was a bit before the Norwegian stuff broke. So by 89, 1991, you have obviously Samael, Mist of Fire and Beherit and all these different scenes, different countries. But yeah, Greece was just as, I prefer Running Christ to Emperor, So like, I like this southern, the hot sound, especially Sadistic Execution or Australian bands, Destroyer obviously. So I was always kind of drawn to, especially the old classic Greek sound, And like I said, that I remember buying Passage to Arcturo, maybe 91. They got one copy into one shop. The guy was just one copy, and it was like a funk soul disco shop. And I started to write with Sakis in maybe 91. So I did a fanzine from 1990 to 1996. Okay. Great timing.
No worries.
It's my gynecologist. Could calling with the bad news. No,
I'm going to die a bit later. I don't care.
Yeah, so no, that I remember because I started to write with Sakis in 91, and then I did a fanzine from...
How did you meet?
That's a good story.
Because it's a weird time to say that
King of glass on a podcast is always positive. Well, I started to do a fanzine in 1990 called Sold with 2 other guys. Then in 91, I decided, okay, I'm going to do my own fanzine, The Oath. And I did like 5 episodes. And it was 4 or 5 editions. And in 91, I mean, there was Rotting Christ in it and black metal and I think Varathron and Moonspell. And, you know, so I think at the time, for some reason, Sakis had given me his phone number in an old letter. We used to write like once a month trading stuff, you know. And I came to Greece in 96, kind of by accident. And I had the number, and I like.
What kind of an accident could that be?
It's a long old story.
Okay, there's another story on this story. Okay,
yeah.
You do your thing. Yeah.
And you know, it involves an old girlfriend and stuff. But we came here. But by then, people have to remember, '96. You know, was pre-internet, of course, being able to just book a flight on your phone. You didn't, you know, it just
you couldn't do anything.
It's putting everything into context as pre and post-internet.
Yeah.
It makes everything very difficult because back then the idea of flying from Dublin to Greece was just, you're just never going to do that. And we never had any money, all this kind of stuff. So needless to say, I ended up in Greece. It's a long story. I hadn't really flew that far. I'd been in Europe a little bit, you know, and Primordial hadn't really started touring we toured the UK and started playing Europe maybe 97. But 96 is still a bit primitive, you know. And I got the guy in the hotel, can you ring this number? And I think it wasn't Sakis on the phone, and there was a lot of shouting. And then eventually I got a call back, and it was Sakis, and he said, hey, I'm coming in. I'll meet you. I'll be there in about 45 minutes. Oh, okay. He arrived with crazy hair and a big beard because he was going to do the army.
It was that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the story.
And so he had to pretend to be insane. Yeah. So he was like, but within an hour and a half, we were sitting at the big table, the whole family, the brothers, the mother, everybody just eating big kind of stuff, proper Greek hospitality. And then the next day,
and everything.
And then the next day we went to the army, the military place, you know. And
you were with him?
Yeah, I went as well. I was there. And then also Duncan from Anathema, I think, was around back then for a few days. And then he said, okay, I got to go home, and came back with like a different beard and washed hair and everything.
Okay,
you know?
That's cool.
So it was 96, and that was Merciful. I went into one of the shop, said, is there any gigs happening? And they were like, yeah, Merciful Fate is playing. I was like, what the fuck? It's the famous show where King Diamond lost his voice. Whoa. And he came out like talking like this, I can't sing. And
he lost his voice before the concert?
Yeah, and he came out like, I can't sing, with shades on and a baseball cap.
Yeah.
And it was like, 96 was the time where there was just, you know, all that stuff was completely dead. In Ireland, the idea that you would see Merciful Fate was just, forget it. And we started to go to Dynamo Festival in 97. So the idea, like, fucking Merciful Fate is playing. Holy shit, bought a ticket. And he can't sing, you know, but...
wow. Man.
But that's the first time that me and Sakis met. And we wrote together in 91. But also I used to write with Varathron, write with... Magus and Necromantia, Stefan from Varathron, and plenty of other Greek bands back in the day. There was Vorfalak comes to my mind, and there's a lot of new kind of black metal bands. Cult of Ibon is really cool. I really like this, you know.
But what about the underground scene in Ireland?
Yeah.
What is happening there? Because Greece is quite famous for the underground scene, black metal especially, but there is also used to be a lot of death metal bands, quite well, to be honest. And we have like thrash bands. Now, pretty much we have a really strong stoner scene, which is not metal.
1,000 mods.
1,000 mods, yes.
Really big,
Planet of Zeus, they're quite big. And but what about Ireland? You have some huge names, like U2. I mean, not in metal. I mean, you know, it's really difficult to create such a huge star from such a small country. You know, Greece, we don't have that.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a language.
Yeah. Well, I think that, like, I mean, as well as that, of course, you got Thin Lizzy, Rory Gallagher, Van Morrison, Sinead O'Connor, you know, there's, and then in the north of Ireland, they had lots of the Buzzcocks. Oh no, the Buzzcocks are English, Manchester, and the Undertones, kind of stuff. You know, my uncle was in a band called the Radiators, who were like a punk band from the late 70s. Ireland always had a kind of, it's really interesting is that in the 70s, I think we had a strong rock scene, if you look at Rory Gallagher and Lizzie and stuff.
Yeah.
But we didn't have a strong new wave British heavy metal scene. I think even a strong post-wave or punk scene. Something is missing in Ireland from about 81, 82 to about 89, 88. Like there's a compilation called Green Metal from about 87 of Irish heavy metal made by an English label. And it's fucking awful. Like I mean, to be honest, it's like really, there's lots of Irish traditional music still involved, and there's no devil in it.
They were trying to do some ethnic
kind of
influenced.
Well, you see, that's what Thin Lizzy was doing with some songs like Emerald and stuff. You know, the 6/8. You know, ding 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 ding. You know, and Rory Gallagher and Mama's Boys were kind of about as near as we got. But what's missing from most of Irish early 80s, mid 80s scene is some evils. The devil. There's no devil. I don't know what's going on. Where's missing from? There's no Irish classic thrash underground demo from '86 of like, you know, or like this, like Sarcophagus. Like, we just don't have anything like that. There's no D-beat anarcho punk from '82. Was Paranoid Visions maybe, but there's all these things. There's no Irish Misfits, no Irish Black Flag, no Irish Shitty Slayer. There is, and there's, you know, some bands, but all these things are missing. Now people will say we discuss it a lot. What happened? And some people say, oh, you know, the best people emigrated in the 80s. Maybe the people who were there were gone. But Ireland is not. In the 80s, it was like second world. But you could still buy a guitar in a guitar shop. You could still have made a great thrash band or speed metal band. Whatever is going on, or a great post-wave, post-punk, Joy Division style band. You could have all the, you know, we had the Virgin Prunes, and, you know, which is about the only thing we had. But something's missing. And we've been discussing it for years, what it was. Then, this is a typical Irish explanation. And then until we get till 1990, 89, 91, when our generation started, we were more determined to, like, we're not waiting for Warner Records to show up to a gig showcase. We're making demos, we're making fanzines. So you've got a Bad and Incarnate, Cruachan, Primordial, 50 Minion, who became Arcane Sun. There's a whole generation of people who are still involved in the metal scene, still either promoters or bands. You know, Cruachan is still going, Bad and Incarnate is still out there somewhere. Loads of the class of 91, what you would say, which is Primordial as well. And we decided we would do our underground stuff. We're still going. There's good new bands out there as well. I mean,
yeah, but do you have that kind of old school underground but new band that they want to still carry that old school flag? That you see that black and white pictures with flames and torches and stuff like that? You see that kind of evil spirit?
No, not so much. I mean, that was never really Irish style. Irish style was always a bit more doomy and doom-laden and sort of, if you listen to Morning Beloved or Old Male Murder, there's this heavy... we were talking about it only last weekend. You hear the temperature or the weather in bands, you know?
The
geography.
That is so true. That is so true.
You know, like Mystifier can only be from Brazil.
Yeah.
It's hot, sweaty, occult sounding. Bestial Warlust can only be from a hot country, whereas Immortal can be from the north. You know, Ireland is kind of windswept, doomy, earthy, sodden, melancholic, tragic stuff, you know.
But where did you get your kind of vocal lines and vocal style from? Because it's kind of unique. Whenever you sing, you know, we had that conversation like a few years back in Dublin when we played with Rotten Christ, and we spent a whole night drinking and talking about how the fuck do you create that voice without it? You don't look like you're putting any effort into that.
Well,
I don't know if you're putting that.
Well, thank you, sir. I sing really loud. I sing much louder than most. Sound engineers would be like, fucking hell. I put a ton of into it. But where it came from, I mean, I grew up, everything for me came in order. I found ZZ Top in 83 at 8. And then my favorite band at 9 or 10 was UFO. So and then Iron Maiden, and then Priest. I didn't go like Slayer, Morbid Angel, or, you know, I went everything just in little increments. And all the bands I liked when I was 9, 10, 11, 12, I mean, they were all, you know, if you listen to Free, or you listen to Bad Company, or UFO, or, you know, even Slade and all these kind of 70s rock bands. They've always had great singing, and I always really liked that. And then when Primordial started in 91, there was singing in the first rehearsals, but I didn't think I could sing, so I'm trying to do like, oh, mesmerize, like Celtic Frost, Pandemonium. Also Christian Death, first Christian Death record, that kind of gothic style. I think I was a secret goth, you know. Eyeliner in Dublin in 91 and frilly pirate shirts and stuff, you know. And then you realize, I can sing a little bit. And there's a rehearsal of I think it's like The Darkest Flame, which is from the demo 92, and there's singing on it. And the singing is trying to be like, as I said, Into the Pandemonium, Celtic Frost. Don't forget also, the Irish scene is very close to the Yorkshire in England scene. Paradise Lost, Anathema, My Dying Bride.
So you get a lot of influence from there.
We were all kind of, even though those bands are obviously bigger than Primordial, just before, maybe a year or two before us. Our demo is 93, My Dying Bride is 92. They all played in Dublin in 91, 92. You know, because it was just from Yorkshire. And so they had the same miserable, gloomy outlook and the same sense of humor. We felt very close to those guys. We did one of our first ever tours with Anathema, 94 maybe. Like, 3 days or something. But and also there was great doom death from the UK, Chapel of Rest, Decomposed, Chorus of Ruin, just doom. So we were pretty close to this doom death sound, you know. And My Dying Bride already began to sing end of 92. Aaron was moving towards to putting some, if you listen to Turn Loose the Swans, there's, you know, Crown of Sympathy, Feel Me Now and whatever, you know, he's bringing some singing in. And it was all a bit gothic-y. But of course, I'm a metalhead as well, so I'm into Manowar and Priest and Dio and everything. Then I realized, like, I can actually sing. But I'll give you a good example. We did an album, Exile Amongst the Ruins, and there's a song called Last Call, and produced by Swedish Ola Esford, awesome guy, great producer, but so Swedish, you know, you got to hit the meter and the rhythm. And we're listening to it, and I'm like, this is too tight. Primordial is like, you know, with the singing, sometimes you're jumping off the bank of the river, you might make it to the other side. You span the notes and you span the thing, and then you come down on the other side. And I have this sort of quite chaotic, all over the place attitude to where it is. But I'm very like, I'm inspired by 70s singers a lot, but also gothic, post-punky kind of things. And I'll do, say in the last album, 2, 3, maybe 4 songs are one take on the last album. I don't fuck around. 2 hours is all I can concentrate on. I will do, some of the songs are one take, and if it's fine, leave it. I'll go do a couple of little, harmonies, but I don't repeat. I don't go back. If it's good enough for Venom and the Misfits, I mean, did Ozzy do fucking 15 takes of whatever? So never auto-tune, never metronome, never click, never anything. Just blah, and whatever just happens to come out. Even if it's out of tune or whatever, I like that very organic feel. But I think what you're maybe trying to dig down into, and I'm thinking about a lot, is just a kind of Irish style of phrasing and the things that we have a sort of strange, maybe, you know, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 rashers and sausages. Ding, 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 ding,
okay.
ding, ding, ding. You know, the kind of timing thing from Irish traditional music. So Primordial has that 6/8 to 11/8 timing sometimes, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you listen to Sons of the Morgan, ding, 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 ding. So that's sort of affecting some of the vocal patterns and you know, kind of stuff. But I'm super unprofessional. I'm super, unfocused and, you know, but we like to just be kind of a bit rock and roll and promote it, and that, like, it's fine, fuck it. Very Irish attitude, you know.
But what about,
does that make any sense?
Yeah. But what about the inspiration comes from when it comes down to writing those musical patterns for your voice? I mean, how much time do you spend on trying to figure out the best line for that?
Fuck all. I've written lyrics 20 minutes for recording. And here's what I think. I think that real musicians perform under pressure. And I believe that you must trust. See, for years I would have said, I'm a hobbyist. I happen to be the singer because, I couldn't play the guitar. And then I realized you can sing a bit. But something happened around 2004 or 5 where I was an okay singer. But like I remember touring with Rotting Christ in 2002 and we were opening Enthroned in the middle. And like every night we were just fucking popping pills and fucking drinking whiskey. And the gig was it was there, but there was also everything around it. You're young and you're whatever.
Yeah, of course.
But then when the band got a bit bigger with Gathering Wilderness, I had to sit down and go, either you sing the Coffin Ships correctly and respect what the song is about, or you be a fucking annoying drunk cunt, you know? Respect it to it properly. And there's a moment where you have to go, okay, I am a musician. I'm going to step up to the plate, as we say, and let's do it. And so from then on, I began to get more confidence. And now I look forward to the hard bits. Whereas in 2004, 5, 3, I would, fuck this bit. I'm going to fuck it up. Now, not a problem. Let's do it. You know, it's growth as a person and as a musician, but also I think as a musician, and you know what I mean? Like you there must be moments where you're playing in Wolfheart and you're going, you just go, the solo is going to come out.
Yeah.
I know what's going to, you know.
Sometimes it just flows.
Just flows out. You trust in yourself as a musician to just, this is who I am. This is what I do. Embrace it. Be confident in it. And so sometime I remember we did one album that, you know, there was this, I'd wanted to write a lyric about Aleister Crowley and this kind of stuff. And everybody's like, will you fucking come on? Like the singing needs to be done. Like we got to hand in the masters.
Wow.
And I was just sitting around the corner and then I was just, the whole lyric just came out.
Wow. And
the idea, and I was like, 20 minutes, okay, let's go. 1, 2, 3 takes is done. The whole thing, 45 minutes.
Wow.
Or Wheeled Lightning to Split the Sun from We're Greater Men Are Fallen, the last song. Kieran's just playing the riff. I'm like, okay, just stop. Okay, what's the other riff? The song's written in 20 minutes. It just came out all at once. And I had the lyric. I was just, that's the lyric. Let's go. Now, over. Whereas other songs do the riff, you just like, you have a riff and you're like, where the fuck does this bit go? Yeah. 6 years later, you hear an old tape and you go, there's the riff. And now I remember, and now I know where the bit is. I think what it is you have to trust in your ability as a musician to cope under stress and perform. And also respect yourself that you're going to do it, but not take the piss, like not just, do you know what I mean? Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. But did you find hard for you to find your balance between your influences and your character as a singer? So because there's many times where you like some songs a lot from your, you know, your beloved bands and you're like, oh, it doesn't sound like that at all, so maybe I should try something else, and then maybe I'm losing myself on that process. Do you get that?
Yeah. I think you have to find your voice. You have to find what makes you. It sounds really ridiculous and very like self-help, but you got to find, you know, you got to do you got to try and find that place. Like I'm never going to be Blackie Lawless. You're not going to be Dio. But I remember like playing Dio, you know, singing in a covers band and having to sing Dio, and you realize like, excuse me, you listen to Dio or like 70s Rainbow and you go, holy shit, every hard consonant is on the bass drum beat.
Yeah.
Listen to Kill the King or, you know, the rolling bass drum, and you realize like, oh shit, he's in syncopation.
Yeah.
With the hard and soft consonants with the bass. And you're like, fuck, this is beyond me. This is like proper musician stuff.
Yeah.
But trust in yourself to take a bit of that, and then also to be reckless. So I think part of it is to be, for me at least, you know, you can be part poet, part hooligan, you know what I mean? On stage or whatever, part reckless, part organized. Like try and take a little bit of everything. But I think if you overthink it, you know, like I don't, like all my favorite records, whether it's Welcome to Hell by Venom or, you know, Walk Among Us, Misfits or something, they didn't overthink these things. It just is what it is. And I think that you kind of need to take a little bit from lots of different columns, you know, be reckless when it needs to be reckless, but also know that underneath it all, you know, I've got this, I know what I'm fucking doing.
Διακόπτω για πολύ λίγο αυτή τη συζήτηση για να σας ενημερώσω ότι μπορείτε να υποστηρίξετε αυτό το κανάλι μέσω του Patreon. Βρείτε το link στην περιγραφή, ακολουθήστε τις οδηγίες. Ευχαριστώ πολύ. But do you think that this is your secret for becoming who you are? Successful or not, I don't think that plays a huge role, but, you know.
I think it's just finding your character and your personality. I mean, like even the last album, you know, Kieran is recording the guitar, he's doing a solo, he's not practiced it. He just looks at me and goes, I don't know, what do you think? I go, that sounds all right to me, I don't know. And Ola, or
the fuck knows,
previous album, Ola's like, you can't put pentatonic in this scale and blah blah, and we're like, who cares? We don't.
It sounds good.
We never thought about anything like this, and we still have riffs that go, no, 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 no. And Kieran goes, it's like Inside the Eye of Algond, old Running Christ riff. It doesn't need to be fancier. Like I don't have any need to do the most complicated thing.
Yeah.
Or if a riff is just 2 notes, just play 2 fucking notes. It doesn't have to be. So I think it's a mixture. Like the Irish attitude is kind of try and embrace the character and personality with what you're bringing to it. Don't overthink it, but also don't underestimate that you need some control. Or not, like say a port in a storm,
Yeah.
And so I feel that Primordial is like this raging kind of storm of all the people in the band are different personalities. We're pulling it every which way, but we have a common goal. But when it gets too overthought, we all just go, no. It has to go back. So
there is a common ground for that everybody's like agreeing that this is the way we're doing it.
Yeah.
We're not doing anything else besides that.
Yeah, I mean, like say, I was talking to Adam from Tribulation, good band. Really good band, and he was saying like, we do 30, 40 demos of every song with tiny changes in notes, and I was there going, we rehearse. This Primordial rehearses the same as in '91. We don't trade files, we don't send things to each other. It's just refusal to do that. We have to be in the room together. We have to be just like in '91, except it's a phone instead of a cassette recorder. Has to be done like this. There's no editing, chopping, and changing. Nothing like this. That's either that or nothing. Because it's the human process of making music together. Some stage you've got to be in the room together, I think, right? And I said, we don't make any demos. We don't. Songs are 30% to 70% done. But sometimes they're barely a skeleton. And that's up to you as a musician to be in the studio and go, what's a good bit? Let's, like say in the middle of Rome Burns, we break it down as a sing. It's just to come to you in the moment like, what would be cool? This background choir lifting up this almost like hypnotic, like march, you can imagine. And so you're just adding moments that just come to you just in that moment.
Yeah.
You can't.
You guys like bringing all the time those little moments into the music.
But spontaneously, try and do it in the moment because you trust yourself. Like Kieran, everybody goes, I say Stolen Years from Exile Amongst the Ruins is supposed to be an instrumental. And I said, when I heard it, I was like, I have to sing over this. And Kieran's like, fuck you. You're ruining my instrumental. and I just said, yeah. But I said, so the instrumental is on the bonus disc. But I said, just let me have a go.
Yeah.
And he goes, all right. He comes back the next day and he goes, yeah, I see what you mean. But it's a give and take, But it was totally spontaneous. It was just like, give me the vocal mic now. Like you realize that there's something coming out of you. That's what it is. It's capturing lightning in a bottle.
Yeah,
and that's I think what heavy metal should be. Should be a human process of capturing that lightning in the bottle.
But are you guys trying to do like the old days, or you're enjoying doing that like the old days? Because there is a huge difference between trying to look cool because we're doing that way, so it's our thing. So let's not change because people may think that we changed, but.
Yeah, I know. It's an interesting point. I think if you are old and you are from the old days, then
you're not old.
Come on, it's full flattery. No, if you are from the old days and you just keep doing the same thing, it doesn't. You understand? Like say, during lockdown, we refused to. We're not going to trade files. Let's just leave it on ice, and then we'll come back to it when you become. Because also, we're old friends. We don't hate each other. We like still having a drink together and hanging out.
Okay, that's cool.
We don't hang out in Ireland much, but it's every now and again. But when we're away together at a festival, we still sit and it's funny, we're making it. We're not a band of guys who are like, there's no big problems or issues or you said this thing in 2004. We're just not those guys.
Okay, that's really cool.
So, we you
are you solving those problems with the fists?
We used to, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
What?
Yeah, for sure. We used to fight. No doubt about it. I mean, every one of us has probably hit every other person in the band.
Wow.
Me and bass player Paul had like a punching, slapping match somewhere in a street on the way to brutal assault, maybe like 10 years ago.
Fuck.
But much more years ago. But even still, not so much now, but certainly in the 2000s, 90s, but if you grew up in Dublin in the 80s and the 90s,
sounds like alcohol, booze, and fighting. It's like a common thing happening in.
I think what it is
I like that a lot. I really, really like that kind of culture you guys have.
There's a mythology around it that is partly true, partly not true. But it is also it is also a thing.
They still think that Sparta looks like the movie. There is people.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is that, I mean, I think it's just trying to find your place and your balance and all of this to find your character, the thing that makes things different. But I think with heavy metal is to always try and turn the volume up on the human process, to not become atomized. And, unless you're doing a band with somebody from across the world and you have to do it like this and you like to sit in front of a computer. But to me, the reason why we started a band was to be in a room with other people, whether it was at a gig or touring, we toured together lots of times, or just to be, that's the environment you want to do it. I don't want to sit in front of a computer and just, for me then, if let's say if lockdown never ended, I would never make another album.
Yeah. Okay.
I become a politician or an assassin. Maybe they're both the same thing.
Yeah. And this is the last message, Alan has to give to the people. Be careful, guys. Make more albums or more people gonna die.
There you go. Yeah.
Awesome, man. It was such a pleasure that I had you on my podcast, man.
Yeah, it's a total pleasure, man.
I don't have more time with you here, so let's go and have some drinks.
All right, let's do it. Of course.
Awesome.
Yes. Thank you, sir. My pleasure.
Thank you so.
It's good to see you, man.
It was really awesome.